Transitioning over to Group A, we have Lazybear versus Yeesh. And this is a really exciting matchup because clearly Yeesh, really good at SpyParty. He is the Summer Cup champion from 2017. He's going up against a monster of a new player in Lazybear, who has just been tearing stuff up in Challenger ever since he joined.
Yeah, without any spoilers, he's been putting up some very interesting results, let's say, in the corresponding event right now, the SCL Challenger tournament. Some big things going on across the board for him. Getting good in a hurry. One of those players where I look up, halfway through Challenger or something, I see them playing, they're getting pretty good. And then about a month later, you see them beat somebody you didn't think they could, and you realize, oh, I guess they've improved quite a bit. And as you mentioned, Yeesh, the defending champion, would not be the first ever person to repeat as a Summer Cup champion. That's Crazy Kaylee, but he took a year off in between. Yeesh would be the first repeat champion if he can manage the feat.
I don't think Kaylee took a year off in between. I think he joined and just didn't make it past the group stage.
Oh, sorry, that's what I mean. Correct. Yeah, it took a year off from winning, let's say. But yeah, no. In fact, I think that was probably his early. I think he got bounced from the group stages. It was actually very close. Of course, he was a close third and didn't quite make it out. It was a difficult group.
I believe it was Canadian Bacon, Magician, Crazy Kaylee, and a veteran of the game who I don't know.
Yeah, otherwise known as half of Diamond this season, was in that one group, certainly. So let's qualify it a little bit. Let's not freak out too much here. It was a tough go of it, and you really just have one bad match in the group stages, and that's enough sometimes. But anyway, Yeesh has a chance to do what no one else has done in a tournament that actually has a bit of history here with this game.
Alrighty, well, I've got the replay lined up and ready. Tobo, when you guys are ready, count us in, and we'll get this one underway.
All right, this is a match in Group A for first and second seeds. Both won their first 2 games, so they're both going through. It's just in what order we shall find out right now in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Now, the order does matter a little bit. Seeding does matter. But I'm always curious when you find matches like this. Like, for example, what we saw in Golden SCL where the 2 finalists, Ponoob and Falconet, were playing each other in Week 10 knowing they were going to play already. How much do you hold back knowing that you could meet someone again when the stakes are even higher?
Indeed. Yeesh with a very early flirt to start out the festivities. 51% on the close green and immediately steps away from it.
Yeah, if you think your opponent, for example, has a strong tendency, like Fingerprint, like we talked about last match, do you want to let them know you're onto it? Hard to say.
Hard to say, indeed. Ooh, that was a very unusual path for Yeesh, but winds up sitting right in next to the Ambassador here. Has a bit of cover. Actually, twitches inward a little bit. It was right in front of the camera. The bug comes off, but oh man, I'm worried about Yeesh right now.
It's a really good move if they're not looking directly at you zoomed in. Basically, literally anything other than what Lazybear is doing, and that's a very effective, very good, high-risk, high-reward bug. In this case, though, zoomed in, really, really paranoid about it. Maybe because of those short paths early on. He was kind of bouncing around a little bit. I think Lazybear is just waiting for a reason to shoot now.
It's possible the eyes were elsewhere, but especially with what the laser is currently doing, I find it unlikely. 2 minutes to play, contact comes off, no shot yet. There's the purloin, and there's the bullet we were waiting for. Lazybear goes up the first game.
Yeah, that twitch can be very, very good. It's very hard to see, especially on Ballroom with so much movement, so many pillars, so many window frames, all that stuff. But if you're looking right at it, it's actually really obvious.
Yeah, just watching back this bug here, as you can see from Lazybear's camera, pretty much on top of it, zooming in on Queen the entirety of the time. Although he doesn't see the arm reach out, he does see the animation start, the conversation. Sorry, no, the talking animation get cancelled, which he assumes could only mean one thing: Yeesh is bugged. And that's where the highlight comes through. So really solid stuff from Lazybear to recognize the threat, and like you mentioned, Track in the previous game, to recognize when vulnerable scenarios are afoot and react to them accordingly. Lazybear takes game 1. Let's jump into game 2.
In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah,
Yeesh on the sniper side, Lazybear on the spy.
Yeah, really good just emphasizing the ambassador there, realizing that, look, a purloin could happen, a swap could happen, but this is where I'm most vulnerable right now, so I'm going to dedicate an unusual amount of attention to it. And it's not a bad bug. Yeesh, look, the thing is, when you do things as Spy, they are obvious if they're looking at you. You have to do things so that it's not obvious if they're not looking at you. That's usually the trade-off.
It was actually a really, really good bug. Like, you say it wasn't a bad bug. It was up there as one of the better ones I've seen, but when it's being watched that closely, it's hard to get away with it.
It's hard to get away with almost anything when you're being watched closely, yeah.
Picks up 34% off the flirt to start off the festivities here, takes a green book out, and takes a highlight as well, stepping back in for the flirt once more. This time a green test up to 82%. Ooh, and Lazybear goes for the briefcase to pick up a fingerprint. Oh no!
That's not how you do that. I don't think that's the direction you face either. We're going to find now. Yeesh, I'm pretty sure Yeesh literally wrote the guide for briefcase on the beta forums, if I remember right. So this could be trouble.
Yeah, absolutely could be trouble. Finishing up the flirt here, and it looks like, just judging by laser movement, Yeesh is worried about Lazybear and is really keeping his eye on him, probably just waiting for confirmation at this point, but you never can really tell.
Yeah, and there's still no reason to shoot for it, even if you suspect that highly. You want to be very agnostic about briefcase stuff because it's one of the weirder parts of the game, and it's not a mission anyway.
Banana bread.
Contact comes off. Few lowlights, no shot yet. Probably knows, has been watching Lazybear close enough that he knows he can't be done.
Yeah,
no
look at these
reason
lowlights.
to take a shot at this point. Wow, down to 4.
Yeah, the could-be-done banana bread or statue shot, that comes when you are suspicious of someone but not tunneling on them. If you're tunneling on them, you might even be counting flirts, and that's why you can shoot for almost anything at that point, and hold your shot even when something like banana bread happens.
1 minute left to play. Lazybear still with 2 missions to get. Steps out to the blue bookcase and immediately just takes a shot. Yeesh knows where the book came from, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, all over it, and I think onto him for most of that game, too.
Not to mention an etiquette break as he left conversation, and whilst Yerund was the one who wrote the guide on briefcase etiquette, Yeesh would consider himself pretty damn good when it comes to etiquette anyway, and so very happy to take those kind of etiquette shots at a whim. Let me just enable casting mode. Unfortunately, I didn't have it set up due to the fact we were on a live game. My apologies, you guys got to see all the nasty spoilers. But we are going to be jumping on over to Courtyard now with Yeesh playing Bling Twin when you guys are ready.
All right, let's get this thing underway in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Oh, I apologize. This is not Bling Twin. This is Plain Twin, and Yeesh will have my head for saying otherwise.
Oh no, way
off.
It's
okay. The seduction target's Bling Twin.
44.
Yeesh, and the less said about Bling that, Twin. The better. No further comment.
44% on the first flirt. Both the twins hanging out here with Smallman.
It's Spy Party meets Game of Thrones on Courtyard.
Absolutely.
With just about as much death, probably.
Oh, yeah. Looks like Yeesh, after hitting the green test on the first flirt, is happy to hang out for the timer flirt with a bit of a distance on the second one.
Yeah, not too bad. I guess you're a little easier to pair in this case, so maybe you're just a little more cognizant of how you look?
Might be. White test on the second brings us up to 74%, but because of the bit of a distance we were at, unlikely that we were paired.
I think so. Yeah, I think they're probably fine. And again, Courtyard, it really just doesn't pay to try to track flirts on Courtyard. That's not what usually wins you the game unless you're already behind and desperate to catch them on something small.
Banana bread.
Contact comes off. Smallman gets low lit. Yeesh gets high lit.
Speaking of something small, it's not a big number of low lights, but it is a big small low light.
Absolutely. Finishing up the flirt as well. That's 2 mission completions within a few seconds of each other. Minute and 20 left on the clock. No statue visit yet.
I always love to see what people do right after they're low lit. In this case, Smallman walks right by the ambassador.
Perfect.
You never know when it's going to matter. Get as many in them in conversation as you can.
Oh, green swap and gets out of there. Yeesh, catching Lazybear in an awkward rotation, gets what could be a free green swap.
This is tricky. Lazybear sees him emerging from that general area. The question is, does he suspect a swap? The fact that he hasn't rotated away from the ambassador makes me think no.
Swap has come off.
He sees it now.
Here come the inspects. Does Lazybear have any idea? It looks like he's thinking about it, but the inspects have been done.
Nope.
No shot occurs, and Yeesh finds the win on the spy side of Courtyard.
Now, it very nearly was still okay for Lazybear. As I mentioned, he sees Yeesh coming away from that general area. It could have been that he walked across the area. It could have been that he walked away from statues, but it's enough to wonder, right? But he didn't go over and check right away. He didn't see the fade. He clearly had it down to 2 by the end. But if it's basically the last thing you're doing, more or less, that's just not enough time. He doesn't have to do anything else. I think if Lazybear, even with that long rotation there, if he goes over and turns just a half a second or so earlier, I think he would have been confident that he'd come from statues, and that plays out differently.
I just want to point this out real quick. We love to talk about Courtyard as a sniper-favored map where the spies need to get something done. Like, they need to get something by the sniper in order to take a win. Well, we have had all spy wins on the day so far on this map.
I mean, I want to say small sample size, but you're right. I think the spies are getting better, actually, which is horrifying.
Interestingly enough as well, Yeesh has managed to sweep Courtyard. Every one of his games so far, matches so far against Basehead and against DBDK Mez. Let me have a look at Lazybear. He's also managed to sweep Courtyard as well. So maybe we see another spy win for Courtyard.
Oh my goodness. Let's find out.
The streak has been broken for Lazybear at least. Yeesh still might be able to keep it alive. Let's see what happens. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I feel like the moment we all started talking about how hard it was to win on Courtyard, we saw a string of high-profile spy wins there.
I call it the Po Noob curse, as he said. Courtyard is spy favored and proved me wrong, and then every broadcast from that point onwards was spy wins.
That's amazing. Lazybear starting things out with the quick 34% flirt, hanging out in conversation with the selection target. About what you would expect.
And that's a little blatant following the ST there, but there's just nothing else going on, and I think he's probably fine.
Yeah. Picks up the second flirt, is in conversation with the double agent as well. 68% on the seduction at the moment. Here comes the contact. White test.
Banana bread.
Enters before the contact comes off, so...
That's always nice when you get it off right when someone enters at the end. I love that.
I think there was only the one low light available, and they were on the other side of the statue, so Yeesh not confident enough to take the low light on her.
Yeah, so the mission progress isn't great, but sometimes, instead of mission progress, you can just keep the suspect pool very high, and it's much easier to rush something at the end because they have so much to watch for. Low on highlights here, though, but also low on lowlights.
Absolutely. With 1 minute and 10 left to play, the flirt gets finished up for the second completion. And I think one of the reasons we say that this is the sniper favorite map is the basic standard by the book spy play usually ends up with a sniper win. But that's not what we've been seeing. We've been seeing some creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, keep an eye out on Walt. He took a bug path, he has a briefcase return, and it just kind of feels like Yeesh is watching him right now.
Coming out of the statues with about 40 seconds left to play, got the inspects, need a hard tell. This is the situation you do not want to be in. Is getting ready for the bug, but Yeesh is on it. There's nothing to play for here for Lazybear. Goes for the purloin, hits the green test. This is a scary situation as we pray for a chain that we're not going to get. Doesn't see the fade, though.
He's going to hesitate.
3 seconds! He's taking too much time! Does he take the shot? No, he does not!
Wow.
And somehow, Lazybear finds a way to get it done on the spy side.
For a second, I thought we were going to have something very dramatic. Walt was behind him when the green purloin happened. It would have been very easy to confuse the two. Instead, Walt does a stop at a full conversation with his spot taken and gets a low light. But while that's happening, that distracts him from the purloin. So even though Walt gets bumped back down to a low light, even though he doesn't get framed or shot, he does distract the sniper to get that high value low light late in the game, just as the fade is happening, which causes him to hesitate. Wow. You don't have to frame these other people sometimes. They can still help you because the sniper is so desperate to knock out their top suspects sometimes that they will miss the fade on a purloin. And in this case, it buys precious seconds and earns Lazybear a much-needed spy win. Spy OP on Courtyard.
Yeah, no kidding. We're 4 for 4. But now we head into the library. And if you thought spies could get away with some shenanigans on Courtyard... This is the map where shenanigans call their home. Yeesh starting things out on the spy side, currently tied 2-2. Lazybear on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, as you say, a lot of Courtyard wins. Although, as one of my friends likes to remind me, the plural of anecdote is not data.
This is true. Yeesh starting things out with an innocent drink take. Ooh, stepping into conversation with the double agent, but the double agent bails right as Yeesh is entering, so a little bit of unfortunate timing as Yeesh is going to have to settle for an early flirt. Flirt comes off. Second white up to 58%. 3 minutes left to play.
Don't purloin early on library almost ever.
Please no. A little bit of a slow start from Yeesh here. He's got about 50% on the flirt. Now stepping in to hopefully finish this up in 3, but can't hit the green test. Oh! Oh, a nice little walking bug attempt completely off camera. That's the kind of thing you'd like to see spies doing on this map.
Yeah, you're going to see it a lot because there's a decent chance it won't be seen. You see a lot of quote-unquote bad bugs that are otherwise invisible because they're off-screen completely on library.
Fortunately doesn't take another attempt there. This one on camera, and Lazybear takes the shot and takes a lead 3-2.
He reacted to that so quickly, it was like he was waiting for it specifically.
I love this. This is what I anytime you see a bad bug on library that takes, it's because it's the perfect library bug. So I'll be able to show you the perfect library bug on the sniper cam. Here it is, the perfect library bug. Did you see it? No, because the sniper wasn't looking at it. Here's a bad library bug, though. That one is directly on camera. That's all it comes down to, is sniper cam on library. If the sniper's not looking for it, it's the perfect library bug.
Absolutely. Now, keep in mind, Yeesh is currently well ahead on the tiebreakers. So Yeesh, if he can win or draw this match, goes through in the first seed. Lazybear needs the win here to go through on the first seed, although Lazybear is in fact ahead in the match, 3-2. stepping in to the spy side. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And to build on what Dowsy was saying, technically, everything's invisible if the sniper's not looking at it.
Yeah.
That's a fundamental principle of the game. It's not just about doing a cool bug that would be hidden if they were watching. It's just about getting away with it. That's all it is.
You can't see something that's literally not even being rendered.
Yep.
Lazybear starting things out at center statue, picks up the trio of inspects and a highlight for his trouble.
Always interesting to see who wants to pick up that early library highlight. I think you can make a case either way. I don't think it's such a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing on many maps, but I definitely don't think it is on library, where by the end of the game, there's probably going to be a decent number of highlights along with you. Whereas if you do it on something like Courtyard, if you get a little bit of bad luck, maybe you're 1 of 2 or 3 with a minute left.
Indeed. 34% on the first flirt. Not a whole lot else to say at the moment. Lazybear, after that early statue visit, is taking things nice and slow and standard. Although okay. I was a little bit worried he was going to ignore Toby there.
Well, what's a waiter doing with alcohol in a library anyway? I assume this is a fundraiser or something.
Oh yes, I'm sure. 2 minutes and 30 left on the clock, and Lazybear is content to just hang out for a little bit. The seduction target comes back to visit to see how he's doing, picks up a green test on the second flirt to bring us up to 79%, and that's as good as a timer flirt.
Yeah, if the seduction target's going to come to you, there are basically any other map, it would be more valuable than this one potentially, but you'll take it certainly, and that little bit of idling actually ends up being productive by accident.
Indeed.
Productive by accident, yeah, that's the best thing. Getting things done without really trying.
Leaves and then comes back looking for the contact, but the double agent steps away. Last flirt was supposed to be, but not quite close enough. Winds up at 99%.
I'm just mad we didn't get a camera shake at a Lazybear. That is clearly an unforced error.
Oh, safety off on Oprah, I think, for a moment there.
And here's the thing, though. If you're Lazybear, you don't realize you might be close to winning already.
Indeed.
And you could knock this person out with something like a time ad, which feels like it's going to be necessary pretty soon, unless you want to do a green purloin or induce or something like that.
In fact, with only 1 minute and 10 left on the clock, it is going to be a white time ad, but Yeesh is on it, takes the shot, and gets to what is effectively match point.
When you do a hardtail and you get shot, it doesn't feel too bad. When you idle and time out, it doesn't feel too bad. But it can be very demoralizing to do almost nothing and still get shot.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned there, Warning Track, it was just a bug path, I suppose, from a red dress here. I'm just watching it back. And it's really difficult. Like, it's actually impossible for the spy to know this from the sniper's point of view. But you can just imagine if Lazybear's next action was a contact where it would be real fake, then that was red dress dead, because she stepped into a conversation with a suspected double agent. And like you mentioned, the one thing potentially that could lose in the game there was going to be a time ad, which would eliminate her. And man, the prophet he is. Warning Track pulls it all back. Here we are, 3-3, heading on into pub. And just a reminder of the stakes here. In Group A, there's only these two people can leave the group. They've had a fantastic run throughout their set. They both won their first 2 matches against Basehead and DBDK Mez. So now playing each other, they're playing for position to exit the group in. Yeesh has a better amount of individual games won, which is the first tiebreaker, and also has a better set percentage sweeping, a better sweep percentage as well. So he will win tiebreakers, which means that for Yeesh, he's very content with tying this out. But for Lazybear, if Lazybear wants to exit groups in first, and first is very valuable for your round of 16 matchup, then they have to win the entire series. So heading on to pub, very similar scenario as we had in the previous series here. All comes down to this, Tobo.
In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
I'm always particularly impressed when someone makes me look smart because it's not very easy.
Yeesh starting things out in an innocent conversation, and is actually going to hang out for a bit and chat some people up.
I guess something interesting's happening there. It's certainly nobody with an arrow over there, though.
Yeah, just good conversation. Seduction target steps in at a bit of a distance. White test brings us to 24%, which is not a number you generally like to see.
Pleasant conversation, unfortunately, not one of the approved missions.
This is true. Slow start from Yeesh.
And you can't tell for sure based on early activity on pub, but sometimes the first 30 seconds or so gives you a pretty good idea of how likely they are to finish, but could rush in a hurry if they wanted to.
I was actually worried Yeesh was going to try for a timer flirt there at that distance, but didn't in the end. Decides to head off to the bar, pick up a delegate. And a fingerprint.
Hard to resist that, and that gives you some options. That's a little more interesting now, especially if you can hit a green here or something.
Absolutely. Nice and snugly with the seduction target here. Here comes the flirt. It is another white test. Only brings us up to 58%.
I mean, it's going to have to be a green if he wants to finish in 3, and given how much time he spent idling earlier in this game and the fact that he's thinking about completing another thing like fingerprint, which is a little context sensitive, that could be big in the end game.
Indeed. Still has a delegate to play with, but doesn't look like he's using it. Not amazing bouncing either. Steps back into bar, finish their drink, and finish that flirt with the green test. 1 minute and 15 left to play, 1 completion. Delegate expires. And man, look at Lazybear staring down that list. Picks up another delegate.
I gotta say, when I find myself taking a delegate more than once on pub, it usually means the game is going badly for me. That's usually a sign. Mentally, I'll go, oh, wait, I'm doing this again. Twice already. Usually I time out there or have to do something desperate late.
It's a fingerprint off the briefcase.
So what order do you do this in? Is it banana bread inspect or the other way around? That's the big question right now.
That was delegate as well.
Oh, the bug! The bug on the way out, a bold choice, but Lazybear is not having it. Takes the shot, and whoever wins this next game is going through in the first seed.
So, wow. I don't know if you remember, Track, I believe it was you I casted with, maybe it was Yeesh who I casted with, but in week 1, Frosty, who ended up winning Group E, did a really tricky move on pub where he picked up the briefcase and then delegated and left with the briefcase at the same time. Actually, I do believe it was Yeesh, specifically who I casted with.
Yes.
And look at this. Yeesh has gone, wow, that's a challenger player who has some crazy tech ideas, pulling it out here, because that's exactly what Yeesh does here. Picks up the briefcase, scrolls his wheel, finds delegate, delegates over to the adult agent, leaves the conversation at the same time. Lazybear potentially on top of it due to the fact that it was such a long pause in the conversation. But there you do. Get the bug on the way out, which Lazybear 100% saw. Really unfortunate though, because that move is so tricky that if Yeesh hadn't got shot for the bug there, it would have been very difficult potentially for Lazybear to track the delegate back.
Yeah, very good move. And that's one of the nice things about losing to something like that. If you lose to something cool, interesting, and new, you also learn something. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually result in a win this time, but very nearly so. I kind of wondered what would have happened if he'd managed to just kind of keep moving with that bug rather than stop there.
Yeah. Very creative tech, almost KCM levels of creative.
Mm-hmm.
But we have one last game to decide the set. If it's a draw, Yeesh goes through in the first seed. If Lazybear wins it, then he goes through in the first seed. It all comes down to this. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And obviously seeding not the same thing as advancement, but still matters, especially in a knockout bracket like this. You're going to have to play the best players almost certainly by the end anyway, but not having to play them quite so soon can be very nice.
Absolutely. Lazybear starting things off with that early flirt. Nice close white test for 34%. Nothing fancy off the start, just getting that progress. Double Agent steps in, actually. Nice little time for a contact, but people start walking at a very bad moment.
Oh, no. 5 possible lowlights. I think he got them all, and he'd already taken 1 or 2 aggressive ones. I noticed Hair for going all the way to the far side of a convo, maybe for some pathing also. So combined with the bad banana bread, and this party is tiny already.
This party is tiny already and gets the highlight on Lazybear for the white contact. Are you kidding me?
Big trouble now. The only way I think you win this game, other than one of the remaining AIs doing something very suspicious, is literally to hope that Yeesh at some point rethinks some of those aggressive lowlights early on, cause them to doubt themselves, but I just don't see it.
Oh man, this is going to be hard.
You hate that dead man walking thing as Spy sometimes, where the party's so whittled down and you barely gotten anything done, and you don't know it yet, but there's almost no path to victory.
Finish up the one inspect, just straight up white swaps. The shot comes off. Lazybear doesn't pull it out any longer than he has to. And Yeesh goes through in the first seed. Lazybear still gets into the championship bracket, but it's going to be a bit of a harder road for him.
Banana bread.
And with that, we are done with the Group A match. We've got 2 more to go. Next up is going to be BRS Kaler with a loss and then a win versus Arturiax with a win and then a loss. This is going to decide who comes through in the second seed and who gets knocked out of the tournament.
Right, absolutely. I'm just watching back that BB on stream, nice and slowed down. That's a super unfortunate thing. Basically, Lazybear ends up in a scenario where he's now playing 3 out of 5 pub, which for anyone who is unaware of 3 out of 5 pub is not fun to play. It's worse than High Rise, and guess what? Everyone in the Summer Cup will be playing it next week in the round of 16. So I'm not looking forward to that personally. But yeah, this is